Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Draft Countdown Post-Senior Bowl podcast. I am your co-host, Brian Bosarge, along with my co-host, Brian Lamb, and we are here at Hancock-Whitney Stadium, home of the Reese's Senior Bowl, and I know this is the first time I've been on one of these programs in a few months, but it is what it is. But we're going to talk about the practice here today, and Brian, you got in here a little bit late today, but so you didn't really see the first practice, but your overall thought about, let's just set the tone here, positively or negatively, your overall thoughts on the tone of the practice today.
I think as far as the energy level goes, it's low compared to years past. I don't know if that's indicative of the players that are here. I mean, we can beat around the bush a little bit, right? But I mean, I just think it's, Jim Nagy talked about it with the quarterbacks here, that it's just not 24. It might just be, kind of a dead year across the board for all these positions. It's really hard to find some of these top guys. When you look at last year with Quinyon Mitchell and some of these guys that were here competing, and you just don't have that this year.
Yeah, 10 guys drafted in the first round last year. I thought there might have been a chance they could actually get that number again this year, but there was 22 players that had originally accepted invites that then this excludes Ohio State players that pulled out of the game that had played in the national championship game last Monday. But so that excludes them and Xavier Rotz, but 21 other players pulled out, and that included some of the maybe the higher end talent, the Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, wide receiver Alec Elminor from Stanford, and the other edge from Texas A&M, Nick Skerritt, another guy that dropped out of the game. So missing some of those players, I still think they can get like six first rounders, 7 first rounders out of this group. We'll see. But it does feel like some of the like you said, maybe it's indicative of this draft class that the talent level doesn't feel as up out there this year as it did last year. Maybe it's just a first day feeling. They've got 2 more days to figure this stuff out, right? So we'll see if that is the case. Early impressions are that the biggest impression early that takeaway I took from these 2 practices was, man, these wide receivers, tight ends, man, they're not separating at all.
It's a struggle.
It is a struggle. Normally in these especially in those one-on-one drills, that's the wide receivers to win. And it sure looked out there like the DBs, they were having a hard time getting separation from those guys. So again, maybe that's something to monitor as we go through the week. But yeah, I overall position groups definitely here. The vibe coming into the week was the interior defensive line and the edge position was stocked at talent. I think that's still the case. There was a pretty good running back group here, I thought. Only a couple really stood out to me today. I'll mention one of those in a little bit. The national team quarterbacks. So let's just go ahead and start with the national team. I'll carry most of this because, like I said, you weren't here for that portion of the practice. The quarterbacks on the national team, that's not a. I don't know that that's a very highly touted bunch. Probably the best of the three out there today was Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel. He was the most accurate. He doesn't have a live arm at all. I mean, it's just no mixing around that. Dylan Gabriel doesn't have a big. I don't know that he has. He's probably got a below average arm for the NFL, I would say, but he is very accurate. The biggest arm of the two was the Canadian kid from Laurier. Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe so, yes.
Laurier College. The Canadian kid, Taylor Elgersma, huge arm, but you can tell this guy is straight up sushi raw.
He's learning on the fly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did not play American ruled football until like 3 weeks ago at the CGS. First experience, he's played Canadian rules football, so he has no idea what an NFL route tree is at this point to throw to these wide receivers. So he's definitely when you say see where he is Tuesday to Thursday, he's definitely that guy. We'll see where he's at on Thursday and come game time on Saturday, because I got a feeling he's going to play a lot on Saturday. But the other quarterback on that team, Tyler Blow, seventh-year player out of Louisville, has played at 4 different colleges. I think he's a priority for the agent at this point. I don't see the talent level. Some other people like this guy. I don't see it. Never have. So that's the quarterbacks on that team. On the GPS tracking that they use on these players, we won't have the American players probably until tomorrow, but they posted the national team players today. The fastest player on the field was Jalen Smith, cornerback from Southern Cal. Fastest player on 21.61 miles per hour for that. Probably the best player that I think stood out to me during the national practice was Miami tight end Elijah Arroyo. I thought he separated decently well. Great size, looked the part of an NFL tight end for sure. Good hands. I thought he stood out. Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon, I think is one of those potential first rounders at the game this week. I thought he showed enough. And we were talking about these corners that have just locked them down. One of those guys today was Isaiah. Is that Thomas? From Florida State, wearing number 8 out here. He's another guy that I think is getting some hype as a potential first rounder, definitely day 2 guy. I thought he had a good day. Quincy Riley, corner from Louisville, I thought also had a good early morning session. As far as offensive tackles go, I thought the best one on that national team was Ariante Ursery from Minnesota. Big guy. Thought he looked good out there. One player who from the vantage point I was at, it was hard for me to see you struggle. If you struggled, you struggled out loud. And that guy for me was Southern Cal offensive lineman Jonah Mannheim. He has, I don't think he had really good collegiate tape to begin with. And he struggled out there today on the national team. Like I said, I know you weren't here for that practice, but is there anybody that, maybe on the national team that you wanted to talk about?
Really excited for Harold Fannin Jr., tight end out of Bowling Green. Obviously put up the numbers. You really didn't get a lot of tape on him against top competition, so there's really that opportunity to do so. And then Wyatt Milam, the offensive lineman out of West Virginia, is another one that's questionable as to whether he can play tackle or guard at the next level, but is certainly somebody that you to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I got to see Harold Fannin last month at the 68 Ventures Bowl. Right here in Mobile, in this very stadium. Second time he's been here in a month. And he set a record, had like 20 catches in that game for 200-something yards. Ridiculous for a tight end. But the rest of that team wasn't very good, so you could see why he got fed the ball. But he had big games against Texas A&M and Penn State this season. So he's done it against the big competition. Didn't really stand out to me in that first practice. I actually had to ask somebody if he was here.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good when you go a whole practice and not get noticed. But, it is what – okay. Sorry. So let's get to the American team practice. That was the second half practice. This is the team that is mostly made up of SEC players. And, a lot of those guys, 4 quarterbacks on this team. You have national champion runner-up and Fairhope, Alabama, own local to Mobile area, Riley Leonard from Notre Dame, one of the quarterbacks here. Obviously, I would say the hometown favorite, but Alabama fans seem to hate him, is Jalen Milroe is here. Most hated Alabama quarterback I've ever seen at Senior Bowl. It blows my mind. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But Jalen Milroe on this team, Jackson Dart, the quarterback from Ole Miss, here as well. And the 4th quarterback on this team is Seth Hennigan from Memphis. So 4 quarterbacks on this team, 3 on the other team. Hennigan probably going to be a lot of reps on Saturday.
I imagine he's going to take his.
Yeah. We're going to see a lot of Seth Hennigan on Saturday. Willing to bet money on that. But anyway, American team practice. I maintain the island is getting less populated, but I still remain on the island of people who think Jalen Milroe can be a good NFL quarterback. I'm still there, but struggled mightily with his accuracy today. So we'll see how that comes along as the week goes on. The best looking quarterback of all 7 here today, I think we're both in agreement, was Jackson Dart from Ole Miss.
Oh yeah, it's got to be Jackson Dart. Has just made every throw that he's been asked to so far. Jim Nagy talked about it, how he's going to have to throw into smaller windows in the NFL. He's been able to do so up to this point more so than everybody else here, and it's clear that he's probably the top quarterback here. Outside of maybe Milroe, who will be drafted over him just due to his
potential, athleticism potential. Few running backs stood out today. Last year, I think in the first practice was a running back practice. We seemed like we had a lot of running backs stood out in that early practice last year.
Dylan Lubbock.
Yeah, and Rasheen Ali from Marshall before he got hurt was another one last year. Not a whole lot of running backs jumped out in practice, but one did to me, and that was SMU's Bosarge Smith. Thought he had some really good runs today. Had a nice jump cut in some of the drills and catches the ball well. I like Bosarge Smith, former wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken. So I could be mistaken. Out of SMU, but he looked good today coming out of the backfield. Any running backs of note for you today?
I think Kansas's Devin Neal's one that we're just waiting on him to break out during these practices, and it's more than likely to come. So he's one to really keep an eye on.
In normal practice circumstances, it's harder for these running backs to stand out in practice. That's why last year was such an anomaly when you saw it, because it's like, oh, wow, these guys really stood out.
Well, especially today, too, because you're just kind of installing the offense, kind of going through some of it.
Yep.
Tomorrow is really when you're going to get into the meat of practice.
And another thing I think is a big difference in this year's practices as opposed to years past is there's so many more of them.
Yeah,
a lot more running backs on the rosters this year because of last year. They lost, like they were down to, by the game time, they were down to like 2 running backs on one team last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they added a lot more running backs this year, and before practice ever started, we lost Cam Scatterboot. So that was that. One wide receiver, I'm not necessarily stood out for his play, but just look-wise, I thought Brew McCoy from Tennessee looks the part for sure. Looks the part of an NFL wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he made a couple catches along the sidelines today. Another one that I like is Ty Felton out of Maryland.
Yep.
That I think is going to have a really solid week here.
Yep. Definitely a couple of offensive linemen that stood out for different reasons. We'll get out both good, by the way, but different reasons altogether. First one I'm going to note is Jacksonville State's Clay Webb. He's an interior offensive lineman from Jacksonville State, transferred from Georgia, where he was a 5-star, I think, coming out of high school. Had some off-field issues. We don't really need to get into that here, but had some off-the-field issues at Georgia that led him down to the Conference USA there. But He had 2 one-on-one reps that I saw against Deion Walker. And Deion Walker's a 6'7", 340-pound plus defensive tackle from Kentucky. And he stonewalled Walker both times in the 2 one-on-one reps I saw between the two. Now, maybe they had more that I didn't see. I don't know. But on those two, Webb stonewalled them. That's an accomplishment to me in itself and noteworthy. The other, maybe one of the best technicians we're going to see at the offensive line position, but the question is how. And that's North Carolina's Willie Lampkin. Weighed in yesterday he played a lot of center today, but he's played guard. I think and going back to Coastal Carolina and this year at North Carolina has been one of the highest graded offensive linemen at PFF, right? His entire college career. Dominates the college level. He measured in at 5'10", 270 pounds. And yet is one of the most technically sound, dominant offensive linemen you're going to see probably at these practices. I don't know how that's going to work in the NFL. I don't know. I am just curious to find out at this point.
Gives us hope.
I'm 5 inches taller than him.
Yeah.
And close to his weight.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Maybe he's a fullback. I don't know. I want to see him get a shot at this point, just to see.
Yeah.
Just to see. But that's a fascinating thing to follow during the week. I did make a note. The American team seems to be using a fullback in formations. I didn't see the national team really doing that a whole lot, but the American team did, and Alabama's C.J. Dupree, tight end there from Alabama, was doing the fullback work there. Just make a note of it. More you can do, I guess.
I will say Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State has looked the part as well. Another one is
not the son of Jackie Slater, by the
way. Another one is Jonah S.
Savaiinaia.
There we go.
Close
out
enough.
Of Arizona. Has played tackle. Some have thought maybe he's going to move inside to guard. I think he can play either one, so it's going to be really interesting to see what position
his measurements say he can stay at tackle.
Yes.
I guess athleticism is going to be the big thing. That we won't know that until the combine. But on just play wise, and like I said, I'll be anxious to watch some of the film tonight. See some of the one-on-ones that we really couldn't see how he looked out there. But he could be a first rounder as a guard or a tackle. He's one of those first round guys.
I'd love to see them get him some experience at both. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, that's why I'm curious to look at the tape tonight and see how he did. See if he did play guard and tackle in the one-on-ones. Couple of defensive standouts for me here on my notes. Omar Norman Lott, Tennessee. He was in the backfield several times during the team drills, causing havoc. He doing it from the edge, doing it inside. He's getting a little bit of inside out reps there. Norman Lott's a guy. Obviously I've been out of the game heavy for a little while, but he definitely passed the eye test today for sure.
Yeah, also a couple edge rushers, Baron Sorrell out of Texas and Savion Jones out of LSU. Also were just very, very competitive off the edge and collapsing that pocket a lot.
Yeah. I didn't really see a whole lot out of the linebackers today. That's something I want to go see. I heard, some people saying Demetrius Knight, the linebacker from South Carolina, struggled a little bit in the pass coverage. Anxious to go back and see that. I know one guy on tape that I saw that was really good in pass coverage was Shamar James from Florida. So I want to go back and see, how he did in those one-on-ones. I think that's where he's going to make his money in the NFL. Any defensive backs for that American team kind of maybe stood out to you a little bit today? Great interception. We saw Billy Bowman, the safety from Oklahoma, maybe probably a nickel at the NFL level, had a great interception of Milroe over on the sideline. And it was just he did a great job just running the receiver's route for him, just jumped right in front of it. Wasn't necessarily Milroe's fault, just a great play by the DB there, Bowman from Oklahoma.
Caleb Ransall, safety out of Tulane, I thought had a solid practice. I'm excited to see more out of him.
And I thought Jacob Parrish, the corner from Kansas State, thought
Mhm.
he had a couple solid reps there from what I saw as well. Um, just maybe not what we saw today. We can go back to yesterday just to before we finish up here. Any shocks or surprises from the weigh-in yesterday that stood out to you?
Jalen Milrose hand size.
Smaller than this.
Yep.
I have 9-inch hands. I have small hands. Small. I barely beat the NFL threshold here.
Yeah.
Milrose smaller than that.
Yeah. So that's going to be a talking point, I think, for the next couple months.
I'm surprised it wasn't more of a talking point today and around here amongst the I felt like I was the only one that said anything about it yesterday.
Well, he struggled to make a couple throws today, and I think if that continues, then that's going to be
he had some fumble issues too, right?
I believe so.
In college, maybe that's part of it, and we didn't know about it. Like Kenny Pickett's small hands were like relatively widely known about, right?
Yeah.
Before the season even started, then it became a big story here in Mobile a few years ago. But this is the first I've heard of Milroe having small hands. So yeah, that was a big thing. We mentioned Deion Walker actually measured in taller than what his listed height was at Kentucky. Not something you see very often. Mike Green from Marshall was a guy everybody was concerned with his listed weight at 235. Could he hold up on the edge at the NFL? Weighed in at 250 plus. So good.
I don't think that's a concern.
I don't think that's a concern anymore. He's another one I want to see tonight, how he did.
Another one that I'm excited to see out of the national roster is Boston College's Donovan Zaraku.
I'll allow it.
We're going to go with it. He's one that I've had my eye on.
Yeah.
Really didn't move up the board much, but he's somebody that I think will move up throughout.
Highly productive player. Had 16 and a half sacks this year. One of the leaders in FBS for sacks. Another guy, his teammate, Ozzie Trapillo is another guy. Won the weigh-in game for sure. 6'8", I think.
Yeah.
340 pounds. Right tackle only, I believe. But he's I'm anxious to see how he looks this week. I know our man Nino interviewed him on the field after the first practice because he's a big BC guy. So got to talk to Ozzie Trapillo a little bit. Brian, what are you most looking forward to seeing tomorrow and Thursday?
You mentioned it. It's going to be the linebackers. Today was a lot of installing the game plans, one-on-ones. I'm excited to kind of see them get into some 11-on-11s.
Yep.
And really see these guys compete and see what they can do, and really get into that Wednesday practice.
Yep, no doubt. And tomorrow and Thursday there'll be full pads.
Yep.
Today they were in helmets and shoulder pads. And that was it. So we get full pads Wednesday and Thursday. That's generally when it's fun to kind of watch those offensive and defensive linemen and like you said, the 11-on-11 and stuff like that, because that's when they're going to get after it and they're going to drop the hammer down on Wednesday especially. And Thursday you get a lot more of the install on the Thursday practice, but it's still you get some good hard one-on-one action. Maybe I should have framed it that way. But you know what? I said what I said. You get it. But anyway, that's going to do it from day one of the 2025 Reese Senior Bowl for here at Draft Countdown. I'll have a little ditty up here in a little while. Pigskin Paul, he's down here in Mobile with us. He's going to have a little something. You'll see that tomorrow morning on the site. And Brian is over at NFLDraftLounge.com going to have some practice notes. Is that correct?
Yep.
Up as well at some point. So, yeah, head over to NFL Draft Lounge, head over to .com, head over to DraftCountdown.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Brad is putting out hellacious content here for us on this channel now. I'm just kind of taking it over for a few days, and I'm heading back off to hiatus. But Brad's the man. And so, yeah, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. And we're going to go live after practice for the next couple of days, and maybe after the game on Saturday as well. That's the plan. I just got to find a place to do it, but we'll figure that out on Saturday. But yes, so that's it from Hancock Mini Stadium, South Alabama campus. I'm Bosarge, Brian Lamb. See you tomorrow, everybody.